Hi everyone, welcome back. How are you? I hope good. Um, this topic this week is going to be one that was a download, and it was very in the feelings department. So I'm going to try my best to put it in the lesson into words, because I think you guys know by now a lot of my gifts are in emotions, and uh, yes, I get downloads, but they come in a lot of feeling and a lot of like experience, I guess is how you would say it. I don't usually get visuals with things. It's more of like living in the experience of it. So, um, the download is, we as humans are here to experience things, which I think we all know that, obviously. When we're in spirit form, we're not able to be in matter, which means we can't eat, we can't enjoy the things that we love doing in this plane, and we can't touch, we can't feel, we can't, I don't know, enjoy the humanly things of life, right? And with that comes the good and the bad, but in general, when we choose to come into this dimension, we're choosing to experience this level of density. And the message that I got was the key to tapping into your eternal self is through emotion. And by that, it meant that when I have tried to explain to you guys experiences that I've gone through, let's say with plant medicines or in just my daily life, I always try to bring it back to me and a story or a thing that can help bring it down to this earthly place, because I feel like through experiences it's easier to understand what I'm saying. But even in saying that, words are words. Words are taking an experience. Imagine like if you had the best vacation and you obviously feel it on so many different levels of your being, right? And then you get home and someone asks you how your trip was. It's like, there's only so many adjectives and things that you can do to describe that experience through words. Now, the issue that we have is us as humans get trapped in this mind game of trying to understand everything through our mind space, which they're saying that's using words essentially, because your mind is only able to comprehend the language, right? Like there's not there's so many things that we experience that have no words for, right? And then that is where the feeling comes in. So what they showed me is that if we can learn, and this is a big one, but if we can learn to live every experience and every interaction in the emotional heart space, meaning like, let's say you pass someone on the street and something about their energy, let's say it's a negative feeling. Let's say you feel like, oh, I don't know what's up with that, but I just feel it, and then transmute it into love and give it back to that person without doing anything. You don't have to say anything, but they're saying that we need to feel every experience. So let's say if it's having an interaction with your child, and words are how we communicate, but how they're wanting us to understand the soul's process is the only way you will really truly understand what's happening with that soul, let's say it's your child, is to take it into your heart space and feel every ounce of what the interaction is, because that's the language of spirit. It's literally the thing that makes us alive and makes your higher self present. The higher self looks at our words as one-dimensional. Like it's like for them, like the training wheels of how to express yourself. It is like taking the vast universe and saying, we see the universe, we see everything, but we are only going to choose to express it through words that are of this dimension, right? Are of man making. Yeah, I mean, because they're man-made things so that we could communicate. But back before there were words, that's how people communicated, was through emotion and through showing that emotion, right? And they're saying that the key to lock, like turning the lock or turning the key in the lock to you, is to understand that the soul lives in the heart space. And by that, the heart is not just love, it's every emotion. And I think I've talked about this before. Love is everything. It's the good, the bad, the black, the white, because spirit doesn't look at the polarities that way. It's all acceptable, and it's all love, right? So if we can learn to embrace those things, and almost like it feels like feel into them versus judging them with the mind, because right, the mind is like literally a black and white thing of labeling. So let's say you have that same interaction with someone on the street that feels uncomfortable. Well, your mind's just gonna be like, something's up with him, and keep on walking. Well, you're taking an experience that could be heartfelt and emotionally based, and like almost categorizing it into the mind, which then allows the mind to then throw it out, right? And the only way that we truly will understand how important every single interaction is that we come in contact with is through feeling it, feeling how it feels, like really getting into what are the trigger points that it brings up in me, good or bad, right? Good or bad in our world, because ultimately those are the things that we're here to grow with. And I mean, it's like learning a whole nother language, right? Because we've always been taught that emotions are a thing we should hide from each other, and a thing that isn't valid and is considered the lesser. But Spirit is saying that actually that's the key to unlocking the person that you really are. The not only the gifts that you came here to be, but your contract and your reason for choosing to come into this life. Because I feel like in that space is where the remembrance is. And then it's like allowing the remembrance to come forward in the emotions. So for example, for me, right, like whenever I know there's a growth coming, it feels like fear because my ego gets really afraid. But I feel into it and I still do it because I know those are where the growth spurts are. And it's almost like going through that going through those feelings of being terrified and feeling it, really feeling it, sitting with it, and then saying, okay, I get it. I see the light and the dark of this. I see the good and the bad, but I know that it's coming to me for a reason, and I'm not going to let my mind decide how I choose to bring this forward or choose to not bring it forward. And I feel like also it becomes clearer to know what is right for your soul and right for your path when you bring it back to that emotional place or that heart-centered space of, does it feel like me? Does it feel like this is for me? And you'll get the answer. Like it feels like it's it either resonates or it doesn't, right? And I have talked about this a lot lately, is that I always have been going back lately and checking with my pendulum, but a lot of the times the things that really resonate, and I know that for me the answer would be a yes, it's usually that the pendulum confirms that. So it's like you can use that as a checkpoint along the way as you're learning how to take it inside and feel whatever the situation is. You can start. It's almost like getting your homework checked after you go through the experience. But ultimately, they're saying that the experience of allowing it in and letting it sit inside of your body is how we transcend our limited communication style. and I know that sounds crazy because it's the only way we can communicate. It's words are everything, right? But I believe that we're getting to a place that in the higher dimensions, we don't speak anymore. It's all communicated through telepathy, and it's not something that we use anymore because it is such a lower density vibration. Now, I have also said that vibration is everything, right? But the sound carries a much higher vibration than words do, because words are created by man, and they are here to almost like get from point A to point B. But in the journey from point A to point B, all that's being transmitted is for your mind to understand what you need to get out of that communication, right? And they're basically showing me that that's not how we're here to experience each other. We're here to really experience each other through emotion. And trust me, I feel scared too. Like, I feel like it is overwhelming at times, and it makes me want to run and hide at times. But I always feel like it helps me really understand the other in a much deeper way than the words could ever express. And I think this goes for everyone. It's not just for people that are empathic. I think it's literally like how we are supposed to learn how to communicate with each other and how to feel each other without words in order to transcend our limited view of communication. No, that is a lot, I know. But I don't think that they would be showing me that if it wasn't important. So I mean, because I don't get, I think I talked about this last week, is I literally am tuning into it feels like the current of the energy that's out there. And this one actually has been, it came to me a few weeks ago, and it took me some understanding, and rightfully so. You know, a lot of these things, I'm just one person, and I'm not that far on this journey, so I don't understand everything. And I feel like they share things that are important for this moment, and that my mind tries to put it into words so that I can explain it to you guys. But it's hard. It is like, sometimes it's like so difficult because, again, how do you explain a piece of artwork? Like, how do you explain the emotion that it stirs in you, and the feelings that get provoked in seeing someone's artwork or a piece of music? It's like taking the most divine expression and putting it back down into a two-dimensional place. And they are trying to help us understand that is a tool for sure, because that's how we communicate. But that is not, when you're dealing with spiritual transcendence, we need to get out of that mind space. It literally is supposed to be used as a tool, just as words are supposed to be used as a tool, but they are not us, and our mind is not us. It is literally a tool for us to navigate this world. But when you're on this spiritual journey of trying to understand the higher self and understand why you came into this life, it's literally the most important thing is to feel back into that heart space and ground it so that you don't feel like kind of flighty and floaty and not understand what it is. A lot of the last few weeks have been up here, and I needed to ground back into my body and understand things. And why? Because we're here. We're here to birth all of this here. And we're here to teach this here. And we're here to help people understand that we're not just this vessel, we really are not. But the practice of allowing the emotions to almost like be back in the game instead of stuffed down for a later time when you can deal with them on your own it's coming up or it's coming to a place where that's no longer going to be acceptable if you want to grow. It's like, it feels that, and this is kind of the way they showed me it, is that every time my mind tries to understand something, they're like, stop, get out of that space and pull it into your heart space and then ground it. Because things may be said through someone else's vessel that are interpreting something that's so much bigger for them to comprehend, right? So then you're getting the watered down or kind of scripted version of whatever they're saying. And same with me. Like, I, again, am sharing things that I'm trying to put into words because that's how we communicate. But they're so much deeper than I am able to put into words, right? Like for example, when I did ayahuasca for the first time, it took me probably at least a month to really understand all of the things that happened and really get to a place of clear expression. But even that, it's just words. It doesn't give you guys the experience, I guess. Yeah. So it's like, if you can allow the emotions to step forward instead of pushing them back, you then become an experiential vessel that can feel into every situation. And then it's like, this is part of learning how to communicate through telepathic ways, right? It's through, in living in this plane, our gift is emotion. Oh, this is so sad. So we've had this gift our whole lives, and it's never been celebrated, but it is why we're here. So it's almost like we were the tool that would have helped us all feel welcomed and belonging here was kind of stripped away as young children, right? Because don't cry, don't say anything, don't be you. So it's understanding that these were tools that we were meant to have in this life. We just were conditioned out of believing in them and really looking at them as negative things. But ultimately, it is who you are. And that is how they're showing me is the fastest way to understand who your higher soul is and to bring it down into this body. It's almost like welcoming in becoming the chalice for it to come through you, through the heart. And you know, I am on this path, and I know that every time my heart gets broken up open more each step, it's like my ego is like clinging to the old ways and a lot of things, you know, and it's so hard because I see the conditioning and I see how they don't work. But it's what I know, right? And so when you are faced with something that it's against what you know, it becomes like this fight of, do I trust that? Can I trust these emotions? Can I trust that space? But ultimately it is who you are. So how could you trust anything but that space? You know, and they can feel like growing pains and heartache and heart breaking open. It can feel painful, but I know that is the space that we need to go through to grow as people and as a society and as a community and as a, you know, global place. Like, we have to get beyond the ways that we were taught to be and the ways that we were taught to consume information. Now, obviously, words are helpful in us navigating this world, and there is nothing that will change that. But I believe change happens when we allow emotion in every interaction that we come in contact with, and feeling it and then expressing it. And that doesn't have to be through words. That can be through actions. It can be through a hug. It can be through a deed. It can be through many of ways. It could be through creating something for that person, a piece of art, or just being there for someone and listening to them. These are the ways that we get back to understanding that words are not the only way of communicating with each other. And not only that, like I keep saying, they are not the best tool to communicate with each other. And yes, there are words that can be put together to form amazing poems and songs. But what I also recently understood is that all of the things that move you, like if it's a poem or if it's a song, it's channeled. It is channeled information that is literally you, like, the hairs on your body stand out or stand up because it's your soul speaking to soul and feeling. But there are songs that it's just keeping your mind occupied. There's a difference. And they're basically showing me that if we allow to only experience and tune into the things that awaken that heart space and make those goosebumps happen and make you feel like a better person and have like hope in your heart, those informations are channeled informations, and they're coming through a vessel to you, to your ears, and I see more and more, even if people don't realize they're doing this. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine this week, and she's writing down a lot of things that have happened in her life, which a lot of it is a lot of tragedy. And she was asking me about the Akashic Records, and I was like, well, tell me about how you're writing now. And she's totally channeling. She doesn't even, we all are here to be channels, right? But we have these words that put it into a category that you need to learn how to read your records and become psychic and become open with your gifts. But really, it's just flow state and it's feeling into it. So like she had been suppressing a lot of this trauma for all of her life, and she's finally surrendered. She quit her job. She has surrendered to life. And now it's flowing out of her, and she's finally releasing. And even though it's extremely hard, it's feeling into the pain that she kept stuffing down her whole life. And so I said, like, I will tell you what I know about the Akashic Records, but honestly, it sounds like you're already channeling. And I believe that we don't need a prayer to get into the records. I think it's always there. It's just almost like you're putting the intention in the universe to say, I'm ready to receive this information now. But I've said this before too. Sometimes it just happens in the shower when there's water, there's new energy flowing on me, and I'm releasing the stagnant energies that are attached to me. That's a lot of the time where the channeling comes and the downloads come, because it's like fresh energy coming through you. And it's emotion, right? Like think about even when you're in the shower, you're releasing, you're like open, you're just like pampering yourself. Even if it's for 5 minutes, it feels like all of your pores are open and your senses are open for feeling, not talking, not using words. And that is why I think it happens really fluidly there. And I'm telling you, every time, and this, like literally every single time that I try to get information with my mind, nothing, literally nothing. It's only when I allow my heart space to be open and I become almost, like I said, a vessel, that they just pop in out of nowhere, and I'm just like, oh, okay. So if we can find those times and spaces where you can just literally open up your heart with every part of your being. Sometimes, like I said, it may be alone in the shower, but little by little, you'll start to feel it opening more and more. And that's when flow happens. That's the state. I want to also talk to you guys about someone that's named Drunvalo Melchizedek. And in the Energy Tribe group, someone a few weeks ago got the book The Flower of Life. And in our group, it kind of took off like wildfire. And I checked Gaia, and he has a whole series on Gaia that talks, I think it's like 36 episodes, so it's intense, but he talks a lot about sacred geometry and the flower of life, and eventually is going to get into the Merkaba and how we can use the Merkaba as a way to transcend these different dimensions. But I wanted to talk about it and recommend it because first of all, his spirit is amazing. I think he's around 80 now, but this was recorded, I think, back in 1992. So it's so interesting that a lot of the information is still the same, obviously. But I've been consuming a lot of his stuff. So there's the Gaia series, which I'll link below, but also I also just read a book of his called The Serpent of Life, which is amazing. And then he has another book which I've ordered and I haven't received yet, that's called Living in the Heart. And I think he's explaining this exact concept, is that we can only be in this vessel in the full expression of our soul's purpose when we are living in the heart. So I'm going to also link those below. I haven't read it yet, but I'm so excited. And I was planning to wait to do this episode until I finish that book. But then I realized, like, no, you've got the message, share it, like, get it out there. So I decided, yeah, okay, I'm just going to record it and I'll share the book with you guys. I believe it's a lot of meditations to help you understand how to open that heart space and how to start really living from that space. And just know that the message that I got is that is transcendence. That is how we will transcend in this life. So thank you guys so much for everything, for being here, for allowing my words to penetrate into your heart space, because that is my intention. And, you know, I always say this, I am on this journey. I am learning every day, and I think that's the point of this. We are all on the journey, and it's like the tools that come up and come through are meant for all of us. So I hope that they land safely in your heart. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe below.